Great. Thank you all for joining us today. This is our April 15th Lunch and Learn. I am Twyla. I am the Director of Outreach here at the department. I will send it over to Jen to introduce herself and then Sophie, and then we will jump right into some. Actually, we'll give it to Sophie first, and then we'll give it to Jen because she is going to give us some FAFSA updates. So, Sophie, go for it.
Thank you, Twyla. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sophie. I am the CASFA program manager. I am really excited to speak with you today about some CASFA updates and some other related financial aid news. Go for it, Jen.
Thank you, Sophie. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, um, especially during your lunch hour. We greatly appreciate that. I am Jennifer Lucero, the Outreach Navigator with CDHE, and I do have some FAFSA updates for you today. Um, it's not an exhaustive list. I'm going to start out with that because there are many changes that are upcoming and that are getting ready to take place. There are many that I've already mentioned, so I didn't feel I would put them on here again. I did want to keep you up to date, though, on our submission rate so far. Colorado is sitting at 41%. That's as of April 8th, according to our FACT tool. And then nationally, we're at 51.4. That's from the NCAN tracker as of April 3rd. Some fixes that have been implemented are the missing signature fix. This is a great fix because what was happening is students were inviting their contributor, but then not continuing on to that signature page. And then their contributor would submit, which would cause a correction needed on their part. So now this takes away that correction place, and hopefully they continue on to that signature page so that they can processed instead of having to make a correction. They've also implemented same cycle pre-fill. I mean, this is brilliant, right? So if the contributor is filling out, or even if it is a student or contributor, they are filling out more than one FAFSA or contributing to more than one FAFSA, they now do not have to sit and enter information for each FAFSA. It will automatically pre-fill. And then when the students or contributors are creating their usernames, periods, hyphens, and underscores can now be used in usernames. Coming up this spring, or pretty soon, actually, we have some really important dates to remember. So, first, in regard to PL 119-21, there are going to be changes coming to the ICER, to FPS, to NSLDS, and these are going to be implemented after April 26th. April 26th is a very important date. Students should be submitting their FAFSAs by April 26th. If they submit after April 26th, there is a good chance that their FAFSA is not going to be processed until possibly June, the 1st of June. So this is a really important date if you are helping students complete their FAFSA. Please try and get them to submit before April 26th. I mean, if I worked at a school, I would probably do something like suggest a school announcement for seniors, maybe set up a table in the hall so that you can alert seniors that this date is coming up. Maybe they could even sign up to get assistance with the FAFSA before that date, because we don't want them to feel like frazzled and like they're in a hurry, but we do want them to submit before April 26th. So maybe just getting other seniors who have already completed their FAFSA to encourage other FAFSAs or make some posters or something. But let's be sure that we try to get all FAFSAs submitted from seniors by April 26th. Another change that's coming this spring is the real-time fraud detection. You may not know when that's actually implemented, but it is going to be implemented this spring. Some other changes that are coming, whoops, sorry about that, that are coming up more like this summer. We do have the, oh, geez, I'm so sorry. Let me, okay, I just need to go back now. Sorry. We have real-time processing, which is coming up. This is going to be phenomenal because what's going to happen is that students submit their FAFSA, boom, they get their SAI and Pell eligibility immediately. Also, if they need to make corrections, they will see that they need to make those corrections. And once they make those corrections, they will be able to view their SAI changes. We all know that Pell for Workforce Programs is coming up. I feel like this is one of those titles like FSAID and studentaid.gov. I keep hearing so many different titles for it, but hopefully we'll land on something. It is coming up. That's the Pell Grant for Career Focused Programs. Students must meet the Pell Grant eligibility criteria, as well as the program has a certain criteria that it needs to meet. The one thing that is different about this is that if a student already has their bachelor's, they could be eligible for the Pell Grant for workforce programs. See, our own CWDC is having a working session coming up April 28th. The link to join is on their website and it is open to the public. Loan limits are coming up. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with those. Of course, students can be grandfathered in with the Grad Plus loans if they have they get 3 additional academic years or they till their program is completed if their loan was dispersed before July 1st. I also want to say there are a couple new fields in the student dashboard that give you the student their lifetime loan limits and also their grant or also the amount of grants that they've used up till this point. So those are new additions on the dashboard that they might want to check out. And they may not have anything there yet, but coming up, they have already started working on the 27-28 FAFSA. The comment period ended yesterday. One of the updates for the 27-28 that is expected is that ITIN users will now have their data imported from the IRS, which will save many students and families a considerable amount of time. Beta testing is coming up. Since the comment period ended yesterday, I'm imagining that they will release the application to host Beta 1 events very soon, definitely before the end of April. And then in early August, those events will start to begin. By September, they'll be in Beta 2 testing. And then, of course, we have the new law that states they must release the FAFSA by October 1st. If you'd like to stay on top of those changes and everything that's happening with the FAFSA, you can bookmark this link and it takes you to the product log. We do have some upcoming events that I want to let you know about. You've been asking for it for a long time. We hear your cries and we have created the online educator financial aid training. It is coming very soon. It will be posted on the Educator Financial Aid Training website. That QR code will take you to that page. And I cannot believe it, but our very last Lunch and Learn for this school season is coming up next month, May 6th. My Colorado Journey will be on to show their new platform. So I encourage you to register for that. And the QR code will take you to our new registration page. So please be sure that you scan this QR code if you want to register because the old page is gone. And same with the event request form. If you have an event request that we can help out or provide resources for, please feel free to reach out. You can scan that QR code and it takes you to the new form. If you ever need to contact us, these are our email addresses. And thanks again for joining us today. I will pass it back over to Twyla.
Thanks, Jen. Great FAFSA updates, and I'm really excited about the online educator financial aid training. I keep on joking with Jen and Sophie that it's going to go viral, so really excited about that. Um, so next up we have Sophie. She's going to give us some CASFA updates. Go for it, Sophie.
Thank you so much, Twyla. I am going to share my screen and I'm excited to share this for a lot of reasons. For example, I just got this within the last hour, so that's always fun. Again, I'm Sophie. I am the CASFA program manager, and I want to provide some updates for you. So this one was not in the last hour. This is in the last 12 hours. So the CASFA software update deployment from this morning, CASFA was down from about 4 a.m. to maybe around to 8 a.m. It was planned. You may have seen a banner across the bottom of your CASFA screen 24 hours in advance, letting you know about the software update. The deployment was successful. Everything I've seen so far has been great. So we are very always grateful because it has to do with software. Always grateful when things work as planned. If you have any technical issues, do these steps in this order, please. Please log out and then refresh and then log back in. Those are the troubleshooting guidelines that I received from our software developer. So that will be the most successful way to troubleshoot any issues. So another update, there have been requests for the PDF download of the CASFA student summary that sort of aligns with the FAFSA student summary that students are able to download from studentaid.gov. So our CASFA student summary PDF student summary PDF download will be deployed on Monday the 20th. So quite soon, not yet, but super soon. However, I can show you what it looks like. So this is a test student. This test student, Austin, is going to view and download his PDF. So as you can see in his little square there for the 26-27 year, he can click view and download. From here, it's going to take him to the application so he can see all of his information. So actually, if he clicked correct application, it takes him to a similar place. However, there are two ways to get here. Once the student is in his application, he can click download PDF. He's going to need to save it. So he might want to save it in his desktop or wherever. And then there it is, the PDF. It's an 8-page document based on, how much information this student needed to share about contributors, etc. And here is what it's going to look like. Of note, for example, Austin didn't enter a middle name, and for Austin, we're going to have a no response provided in the CASFA student summary. That's specifically for accessibility purposes. For a screen reader, we don't want a blank, and because a screen reader won't know what that means. We don't want some dashes, and for the screen reader to have to guess what that might mean. So we want to be explicit that there's no response provided. And in this case, that's because Austin doesn't have a suffix that he needs to share. So again, this is pretty soon. This will happen on Monday, the 20th, probably by the end of day. I wouldn't say at 12:01 a.m. it'll be working yet. And also, if you're a financial aid professional, when you log into your CASFA portal using your email and your credentials, you obviously have a different view and you're able to view students who have selected your college or university. So you'll also be able to download the PDF. So some of our IHEs have been requesting this. So when you maybe you went to find an application and you looked for Austin's name, and then when you click into their application, you'll also have this download PDF button where you can then save to wherever you need, and then you'll have access to the PDF as well. So that should hopefully improve things. Again, I want to reiterate what Jen said. You did a great job. Your presentation was terrific, Jen. And in addition, also please complete your CASFA before April 26th. Of note, April 26th is a Sunday. And so financial aid offices are obviously not open, and they're not open Saturday either. So it would make sense to me that a student would even need to complete their financial aid application before, I would say Wednesday, in order for their financial aid office to maybe receive it by Thursday, in order to hopefully be able to download and process it by Friday. Because then again, Saturday, the office will be closed. Sunday, the office will be closed. And then after that, there will be the financial aid offices have that software update delay in May. So students should complete their CASFAs, I would say, well before April 26th. I would say maybe by the 22nd would be the last date to ensure that they receive a timely financial aid offer. if a student has a conflict and it doesn't work out, they still will receive a financial aid offer. It's just, it could be a delay of all of May and potentially sometime in June. So, but hopefully June 1, like Jen said, I would love it if it was June 1. Um, Thank you for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'll put my email in the chat because I did not include it on this slide. And I look forward to talking to you about the next thing. Maybe Twyla, back to you, okay?
Great, thank you, Sophie. All right, next, we have two special guests with us from Lotus School of Excellence. We have Principal Emric Bhakti, and we also have Brianna Bond. Principal Bhakti is a high school principal in Aurora, Colorado, leading a diverse student population with strong focus on system-driven improvement and student outcomes. His work centers on building coherent school-wide structures that support academic success, post-secondary readiness, and equitable access to opportunities. Prior to becoming the principal, there at Lotus, he served as a college counselor where he significantly increased scholarship attainment for students, including a 500% increase in KC scholarship recipients with 1 year in Kansas City, Missouri. Emmerich is currently pursuing a master's in ed and online education leadership at Harvard Graduate School of Education and is the founder of Symphonize, an education system focused on aligning adult team practices to improve student outcomes. And then also Brianna is a middle school counselor at Lotus and has a passion for counseling and has a varied background working in K-12 schools. She is excited to work with students throughout their middle school and high school years while they transition into high school. So go ahead, Principal Emmerich, and take it away. Bhakti, sorry.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to chat and share some of our practices, and hoping that this will move the needle for other educators and schools. That's how we learn, right? Through sharing with each other. So if I'm able to share my screen, and please let me know if you're seeing the slides.
Yes, we are.
Awesome. So it's going to be on present mode. So I'm going to go over some information through the slides, and please feel free to jump in if you have any questions, raise your hands, or even comments if you're unable to engage through the microphone. I think we're going to get to those. Let's talk about where we are at. Currently, we are at 85% FAFSA completion for the entire graduating class. And I mean, we're really excited for our students to be able to fund their colleges and pursue their dreams. So I think what we're seeing currently is, or normally, right? I'm like, there's confusion, right? Where do I start? Because I mean, this could be the first time that parents and students are filling out their FAFSA forms, especially like if they don't have the older kids who've gone through the same experience or similar experience. Then there's also like hesitation on part of the families, right, for various reasons. And it could be like immigration related or like other personal reasons that sometimes like parents face this hurdle. Then there's also like I'll submit it later, right? I mean, we know high schoolers, not every single one of them is gonna be on task. So I mean, procrastination can be an issue. So for us, I think the one way or several ways how we reached 85% currently is real-time monitoring of each student's progress. So we work with each student, with each graduating student, and then really ask them, where they are at in their application. And if they're submitted, then we would like to see their confirmation that comes from the Department of Education. And once we see that, we kind of check the box off. That's how we internally track, our students. Then the next one is really like being available there. So we actually like built in a class, like it's called a counseling class. So seniors they have a class where just like on their schedule, just like English, math, science elective. I mean, they also have this counseling class where they complete all of these, right? And so the dedicated support also kind of speaks to that class. We have a counselor and another person who teaches that counseling class. So that's another support system that we have. Usually, I mean, what we're noticing is like, having FAFSA nights with parents, it's awesome. But at the same time, I mean, if it's just like, one-time event where we're presenting all the information and we're saying, hey, please apply, October 1st is when it opens, we're really not seeing a lot of FAFSA completions. So instead, like, when we invite the parents, right, the session one could be really going through the FAFSA, presenting it, but session two is like hands-on. Hey, remember, like we covered in our session one what FAFSA is and how you apply. Now it's the time to apply. And of course, all of this needs to be communicated with parents in advance so they can bring the necessary documents. Ms. Braun, if you'd like to talk about, again, us being a diverse school, we also have parents who may not necessarily speak English. So my colleague, an excellent counselor, Ms. Braun, could speak to that more in detail.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well. So I think it's really important to know your population, and a lot of our students and families come from out of the country, and so another language is their first language. So FAFSA can be really terrifying for a lot of our families because they're concerned about immigration, they're concerned about tax information, they're concerned about just the language and not understanding, and a lot of times they think that they don't have the the ability to go to college or to fill out this paperwork. So I work really closely with all of our families who feel that way and try to connect them with someone else that will make them feel a little bit better in their home language. So we work with a lot of the local colleges. MSU has been phenomenal this year in finding some bilingual advisors who can reach out and work with families either in person or over the phone or over email. And so whenever we have families who struggle with the language part of it, I connect them with that, and we've been able to get our completion rate up.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Braun. And again, for us, the main approach is really instead of just like, relying on students or pushing the information, right? Hey, here's what FAFSA is, here's the deadline, apply, right? We actually like, have computers and we have students apply, like hands-on. And then, like I mentioned, we track them one by one. And in a minute, I'll be also sharing the tracking tool that we developed internally with you. Uh, Obviously the foundation that we need to like, lay the ground starts like, way early, right? Because I mean, if by the time our 12th graders and by the time it's September of their 12th grade, we're talking about financial aid and FAFSA, it may be a little bit too late. So I think it would be more intentional and purposeful and effective as well, right? If we start this way early. So I mean, for us, it starts the conversations around financial aid starts in freshman year. Of course, it's not going to be as intense and detailed as it is like for the graduating class, but it still will be presenting some of the concepts. And I mean, precisely to really debunk any kind of myths or some schema like, that they may have in their minds that kind of prevents them from even like thinking and planning about college or dreaming about colleges, right? And so we want to just say like, yes, I mean, there's ways, right? I mean, there's financial aid, and I mean, just like talking through what each one means, like, what is a loan? What is a student loan? What is a private loan, right? And which one do parents need to complete? What is a parent plus loan? And then there's like, the grants and how, like, the scholarship itself, right? And then the sources, the types of all of this financial aid. And all of a sudden, students become more financially literate so they can actually debunk some of their myths or like, some statements that they hear from maybe like direct family members, neighborhood and community members. So I think that is one of the key elements. And the last slide that we have is, again, the strategy one is we really cannot just like highlight this enough. If we just leave it up to students, it will be just like hit or miss versus if we go like student by student, really working with them individually, then we can also control, right, the outcome, right? And it becomes also predictable. Uh, and we definitely want to see some of the tools that can help us, but at the same time, after they submit, they receive the confirmation email from the Department of Education. So that also gives us a proof, right? I mean, as an evidence that they submitted it. And like Ms. Braun mentioned, we partner with the local colleges, specifically financial aid experts. And I mean, sometimes like it's really hearing from these people, right? The experts from colleges, right? Because I mean, our parents, they always see us and they always, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, it's a familiar face. But if someone, a guest arrives from one of these partner colleges, specifically talking about financial aid, that can also be very powerful. Now, this said, I would like to kind of switch gears and share. I don't know if everyone is able to see the tracker. All right,
Yes, we
awesome.
are.
So again, this is like, in-house developed tracker. It's still kind of like in its evolution phase. It's been, introduced relatively recently, just like, last year. And so what we do is like for every single grade level, we have, activities that go along with month, right? Their priorities, status, like, for completion, in progress to do, or in some cases maybe it's not applicable, the date, where was it delivered, where was done, like what percent of students attended. And I mean, another thing is like the impact, right? So as a result of delivering a FAFSA session, what was the impact of it, right? So we could say 60% of parents attended, and then as a result of this, we invited local college financial aid representatives, and we reached like 50% FAFSA application within the first 2 months after the FAFSA opened, right? So, we also want to see the impact. And then the notes, it could be anything from, hey, let's change this next year. Let's change this technique approach for next year. Anything that we think will be useful for us for the upcoming year in planning, preparing, adjusting, improving, we can take notes here. And again, I mean, it's just a simple tool like this. For grade 11, as you shall see in here, we still have financial aid right here. And, the timing is like, it should be like earlier in September. So junior year, I mean, the students should be actively also seeking out some scholarship opportunities and applying. Because I mean, we don't want this to be an activity just like secured for their last year, right, in their senior year. So we want this, all of this kind of start way earlier. And then we also talk about financial aid in 10th grade. And again, that's like, the first semester, we want to make sure that they are also well aware. So by the time they get to, uh, junior year or senior year, I mean, they already kind of are literate in that. And for freshmen, again, like maybe like a lot of self-exploration, career exploration, just to kind of build them into the next grade level of the curriculum. So, I mean, curriculum, quote unquote, that we develop for them. And yeah, I mean, this is like, how we individually necessarily like track our students' completions. Then we also have like senior activities, what activities we do with them. Scholarships, summer programs. We want our students to attend summer programs, and we were able to compile some lists of activities and programs for summer. And again, summer is a great time. That's the only time we don't control, and that's the time that shows us what students are truly passionate about and what they're choosing to engage in, right? So yeah, I mean, this is in a nutshell. Now, some of the tools that we use is actually like the studentaid.gov, and I mean they actually have this, and then maybe I can share this in the chat if I may, um, hoping that this will be or might be helpful. And so what it does is once you log in, you can scroll down year by year, you can track. So for example, 25, that was the last year. And so you can see it. But at the same time, one thing to be aware of, I mean, it's not updated every month, right? So the last one for 2026, the very most recent update was made on February 28th. So it kind of lags a few months behind, but it will present information. And what you do is you just like click on this link, and you will be able to download the sheet. And I hope you're able to see that sheet that I downloaded. And it goes again like school by school. You can select the state, whichever state you want. Use these filters, right? And so you can actually like see for the current year, 26, 27, like the upcoming year, financial aid. Of course, they submit this year for the upcoming school year, right? And as we can see here, the last update was made on February 28th. And whatever high school it is, feel free to look up. And you're gonna see two columns pretty much. One is like application submitted, and the second one is application complete. And sometimes the application that is submitted could be kind of like higher, as we can see here, right? For this row. So there are 130 applications submitted, but not all of them may like all of them may not have been like processed, right? Not every single application has been processed, so that's why there's going to be this difference. And then you're going to see that for pretty much like the previous year. It gives that comparison also from the year prior, just to kind of like see that maybe like data or another additional data set that can be helpful. So yeah, I mean, this could be also like, one of the tools that could be used for tracking purposes. And Ms. Braun, I know you also mentioned something about, incentivizing our students to complete their FAFSA. If you'd like to talk to that a little bit.
Sure. So a couple years ago, I was part of the school counselor core grant, and we wrote for extra money for FAFSA to increase FAFSA applications and completion rates. And they had lots of really great ideas, one of them being incentives for kids. Part of it is just because kids don't realize what's out there, and sometimes their senior year, they don't know what they want to do until the end of the year when all their friends are going off to college. So we see a lot of rushing at the end of the year. So they suggested offering a cord for graduation. So a lot of our kids don't get cords because they're usually for the top students. So we've been doing that the last 5 years now, as we offer a FAFSA cord. And so then everyone has the opportunity to get a cord, and it counts for FAFSA or CAFSA. Another suggestion that they had made was to use some of the grant money to bring in people who would file taxes, and we would pay for the taxes to be filed because a lot of the families didn't know how to do their taxes correctly or were nervous about it. And so we weren't part of that. We just offered the service here. And then we were able to know that their taxes were done. So then when FAFSA came around, they already had their taxes filed. So again, it's just incentives. It's usually more of a carrot for the kids, but it works. And then it's just an opportunity for them if they decide they do want to go to college, then they already have that done. Because I have seniors right now who are like, I'm not going to go to college, and right now they're applying and going, oh no, am I cooked because I didn't get all this stuff in time? And then knowing that the FAFSA basically closes next week, we got to get them all done. So.
Thanks so much, Ms. Braun. That said, Twyla, I think this is the information we have so far, and if there are any questions.
No, that's great. And Brianna, I love how you said, "Oh, the students are saying, oh, am I cooked?" My daughter uses that all the time. I love the slang. So we'll send it over to Jennifer, and Jennifer has a couple questions for you both. So Jen, go for it.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. In the chat, it's Tam is asking, FAFSA is not closing next week, right? No, FAFSA is not closing, but there is going to be needed like software changes, and that's going to take place after that April 26th date. So you know how software changes can be, and it might take a while for those FAFSAs after April 26th to get processed. So that's what we're saying. It's not closing. They can still submit after April 26th. However, it may not be processed as quickly as they are right now. And I just wanted to mention, Brianna, yes, I love student incentive ideas. I think this is a great way to encourage seniors to complete their FAFSA, and it's a creative way too. If schools could get creative and do something special for their seniors so they can do that. And then Mr. Principal Bucket, I also liked that you do have financial aid completion nights. I think it's important for us to offer that assistance. And I do want to mention with real-time processing, financial aid nights are going to look a lot different because they can create their FSA ID, fill out the FAFSA, invite their contributor can finish their portion. I mean, and they can see what they're eligible for all in one night, hopefully. So that's something definitely to look forward to. Um, I do want to open this up though. Does anyone else have any questions for Principal Bucket or Brianna, Counselor Brianna?
Hi, my name is Tam. I have a question with the work that you do with your families. Jennifer, you were suggesting ways that we could engage with students next week. I have a whole bunch of students who have invited a contributor, but we cannot get the contributor to complete. And so I was just interested for families who have limited time or limited computer access, how do you work with the hardest cases to get them completed?
I can answer that one. That's usually where I just do a one-on-one with the student, and if I can get the family either on the phone or in person to find out what's stopping them. Like I said, sometimes it's just not understanding, sometimes it's a language thing, sometimes it's access to a computer. And sometimes they just don't trust us because maybe they don't know that we're going to give them the honest answer. So I had another family who came from another country and was just really worried about immigration status and didn't want their child's name on anything. So I brought in a college rep who was able to dispel some of those fears. And now that student's going to college. So it's really finding out what is holding them back. Usually it's not access. I mean, some of the excuses we hear aren't real, they're just stalls. So it's again just finding out what the real source is. And I think a lot of that comes from having relationships with the family or the student, and that they know we're coming from a genuine place to help their child. And then if it's not us, finding someone who they will trust. So like I said, if it's a college advisor that they'll talk to, we'll come up with that person.
That's great that you guys are partnering with the Institutes of Higher Education. They are very knowledgeable and I think can provide that sense of, comfort to families. So definitely a road that many could take. Any other questions? Let's pick their brains.
I have a question. So what kind of tools do you use to reach out to students and families? Do you use texting? Do you have like a newsletter? What are some of your best practices for that and to get the information out?
Yes, and we still struggle. I think it's a real thing anywhere. I mean, I'm a parent too, and I don't always read the newsletters or reply to emails. So it's again hitting them where where it's something that's important to them. So it's doing what all of it really. I mean, we send out texts and emails and all call like the dialers and then Schoology or we use some platform to send out messages, but I also do hard letters and send them home with the kids. Um, a lot of time it's just being present in the main office. It's when we have anything that involves parents, I try to be there so I can have a face-to-face because again, it goes back to relationship building. So whenever we have, community nights or anything that families are involved in, I just try to let them know who I am and hand out my card so they have a person, a face. Because it's really hard. I mean, there's there's trust issues, and then there's just fear. I mean, a lot of our families, the parents did not go to school in America, so they just don't know, and they just lean on their child to make those decisions.
Thank you for that.
I will say something else that one of the things that we've been doing at our school is we require all of our seniors to apply to at least 5 colleges. And we highly encourage them to do the FAFSA. Sometimes they can't because their parent won't fill it out, or the CAFSA or the FAFSA. But we do require them all to fill out at least 5 applications. We tell them we don't care if you get accepted or not, but we just want them to be familiar with the process of filling it out. And some of them get accepted and are quite shocked. And then again, we have seniors who right now are going, wait a second, maybe I do want to go to college. So we try to give them the opportunity of knowing how to do the application, and then also with the FAFSA and CAFSA that they potentially could have money in their pocket to pay for college. So we're just trying to make that part of our culture so kids know that I don't care if you go to college, those are your decisions, but we want you to know how to do it, because after you graduate, you may not have the tools or a resource or someone to ask how to do it.
That's great, Brianna. I also just put in the chat, I'm sure you guys are aware, or most of you are, but we do have the dates already for the 2026 Colorado Free Application Days, which will be October 20th through the 22nd this year. So students get application fees waived at the following institutions that are right there on the website. So please utilize it.
I just have a quick question for you all. Wondering with your financial aid nights, yeah, kind of along the same lines as Twyla's questions, how do you coordinate that? Do they have to sign up for it? Do they just appear whenever they'd like, or what is your process?
So the one we did this year, it was in the evening, and we didn't have a sign up. They could just drop in. And then we had some colleges available too to present, and just available to answer questions too, because again, I'm not necessarily expert on the college end of it. So I wanted them to have people, and I had bilingual people there as well who could help some of our families.
That is all great information. Any other questions? Do you have a question, Lauren? Oh, okay. We sure do appreciate you joining us today and all of the work that you're doing to help students get their financial aid and apply for college. It's all great stuff. It sounds like wonderful things happening over there at Lotus. Twyla?
Great, thanks, Jen. So we do have a new question in the chat, and this is more for perhaps Sophie from Socorro. Oh, there you go.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Socorro. The student should connect directly with me. This is unfortunately uncommon, but if the student's change in legal status is going to allow them to be eligible for a federal Pell Grant, this is a great thing, right? Obviously, for many of our students, this can completely change their trajectory and make or break their undergraduate experience. So, the student should definitely complete a FAFSA. The student should reach out to their financial aid office at their college or university and tell them, I am, withdrawing my CASFA, and the student should reach out to me and say, please delete my CASFA. And feel free to reach out if you have any other questions or you want more details about that.
Great. Thanks, Sophie. All right. With that, I think we have concluded our program for today. Jen or Sophie, anything else for the good of the order, good of the group? No? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. Again, this will be the recording will be placed on our website, and please check back. We will have our online educator financial aid training up on our website soon. So please keep on checking back for updates. Thank you all and have a great day. Jen, you want to stop the recording?